Can you introduce yourself?
Sure, my name is Susie Romano-Sacco, and I am the producer / director of Chinatown in Canada.
Can I get a little bit information about yourself, like who you are, why your profession, something like that? Yeah.
Sure, I've been in the industry for about 10 years, just a little over 10 years, working in different aspects of production. I'm a current resident of Vaughan, which is part of the area that we covered in Chinatowns.
Okay, so why you come up with the idea to get the Chinatown series?
The Chinese have such a great history here in Canada, and they bring so much to our society. Their culture has integrated so well within our communities. They bring us karate, they bring us Chinese medicine, they bring us acupuncture, they bring us bubble tea, and they bring us Chinese food.
So, before you produce this series, do you any research you do it, and do you know about the Chinese culture, or you study in universities about Chinese?
No, I didn't, but we did do a lot of research. We did develop the project in depth before we started production. We did a lot of research about the history, and the project kind of changed over time, but we did do quite a bit of research.
So when did you come up with this idea to produce the series?
It was quite a few years ago. Maybe 2006, 2007. So it was
4 years.
Yeah, so we had to develop the project where we did a lot of research, and then we had to get the okay from the broadcaster and permission and to view our concept, and then it took us a whole year, about a year and a half to finalize and get the production done and the post-production.
So all done by yourself or your team?
It's a team. I have a co-producer and director in Vancouver, and the executive producer is based out of Vancouver as well.
Okay.
And the executive producer is Roger Williams. My co-producer is Carrie Beattie.
So during your research, any interesting facts you find it, and then base that to produce this series? And this is how many parts the series is? And how many cities it covers?
Sorry, can you go back to the first question?
So, I mean, you say you spent more than 4 years from the beginning of the concept to get the final production.
Yes, but there was a time in between where we were at rest and really weren't doing anything. We were just kind of waiting to get the okay from the broadcaster.
So how many cities you covered?
We covered 4: Vancouver, Victoria, Calgary, Edmonton. Sorry, 6: Toronto and Montreal.
Okay.
4 episodes, 6 cities.
6 cities.
Yeah.
So any difference between the 60s regarding Chinatown issues?
I mean, they are all very rich in culture. They all have a lot of history. Some are much bigger than others, but in essence, I think the root of them, they're all the same. They all have a lot of culture. They're all working hard to preserve their culture for future generations. So in essence, they are all the same. Just, I would say that the major difference in all of them is that some of them are larger and some of them are smaller.
So when you're collecting those like research data and research information, do you consult any like university, any like old-time Chinese residents?
We did. We consulted with Dr. Lai, who is the professor emeritus, if I could say that properly, at the university in Victoria, I believe. We consulted with him. We consulted with an oral historian in Montreal, another oral historian here in Toronto, Valerie Ma. So there were quite a few people, and there were quite a few people that we interviewed as well throughout the documentary that are people that were very involved in the history of Chinatowns that came here a long time ago, or their ancestors did. And there were also some university students that we interviewed as well.
Okay. So any major findings, any interesting findings during the research? For example, like you see that, I mean, Chinatown is go through many different stages, maybe 10, 20 years or even 50s, and compare the current situation now is totally different.
It is. They worked very hard when they were first here, and we all know that there was some prejudice that took place. But now, I mean, their culture is so different. It's so well accepted. It's diverse in its own way, and it's integrated so much within each community. So it's so different than when the first Chinese came here.
And also the qualification, education is totally different.
I'm sorry,
I think the background and also the education level is totally different.
Yes, yeah. And if you have to ask me something very, very unique about the culture is typically the Chinese have been stereotyped as being in professionally designated fields. And they're not. They are so diverse. We met the prima ballerina here in Toronto. We've met artists. We've met so many diverse Chinese people that are involved in so many different things. They're not typically in the restaurant business or in the laundry business like they were a long time ago. They are just so diverse in the arts and theater, actors.
That's true. So, what about the story? So, what angle you produce this series? From a Western Canadian one, or?
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Okay, the question is that, like, okay, so if I am the producer for this series, I may be starting from the Chinese-Canadian angle. So, I mean that for you are the Canadian or the Westerner. You're not Chinese.
Right.
Right. But you introduce a story about Chinatown.
Yes.
So what angle and then what kind of like objective you think about when you produce this series?
What kind of angle?
Yeah. Like just tell people this is Chinatown, or you tell the history, say from day one, from 50 years to now, reflecting the people, reflecting the changes on that basis.
So kind of like what we told in each episode.
Yes.
Well, we took 3 youth, Chinese youth, either from their background is Chinese, or they are somewhat involved within the Chinese community. So we took 3 youth and they explored each Chinese community. So we delve into the history a little bit of each community, and then we explore current day. So we show some of the features of each Chinatown, and we also talk about what each community is doing to preserve their culture and how they can preserve it for future generations. And that's sort of the angle that we use for each episode.
Any difficulties when producing this series?
I would really have to say no. I think that the most difficult thing was that it's just so vast and so interesting that you just want to encompass so much in each episode, and it's hard not to because you have a limited time. So it's a hard thing in a good way because it was so large, so extensive.
Okay. Producer, then you expect what kind of feedback from the audience? What do you want to show them?
That the viewers will find the Chinese community very interesting, how hard they are working to preserve the Chinese culture for youth, and that when the youth of today watch the series, they will gain some knowledge from the documentary about their culture and about their history, and that they will continue to preserve their Chinese culture as past generations have.
I mean, can you tell us a little bit about some, I want some kind of case study, like, because you go for 4 past 6 cities.
Yes.
Right? Any interesting, experience you can share with us?
You have to give me a moment to think about that.
Because I believe that Toronto Chinatown is totally different from the Victoria. Right?
Say that again.
For example, like the Chinatown in Toronto may
Yes.
be quite different from the one in Victoria. And
Right.
size or the next. When you're shooting, you have any interesting experience sharing with us? Some may give you hard times, or they don't understand what you're doing, or
No, that was the thing. That was the thing. Everybody was so welcoming and so eager to participate in it.
okay.
And the youth were very interesting because we videotaped a lot of youth. They were very interested in participating because they wanted to learn more about their culture. And they felt that this was a way that they could participate. But it's not like anybody really gave us a difficult time because young or old,
What
they
were
were,
happy times?
yeah, they were all very eager to be a part of it and to say, you know, you're going to talk about our culture. Our culture is really important, and I think they valued it more than anything. So there wasn't, I can't really say that there was anything difficult about it.
What about for example, like the changing phases? So, I mean, is that, for example, in Toronto, Chinatown, that our older generation, that they live there, work there, but the point is that many new Chinese generation, they try moving out from Chinatown, and then moving like another type, like Vietnamese or some other people. Can you cover that?
How they moved out of the Toronto area, you mean, or just how they moved from the west to the east part of the country?
Let me rephrase my questions. That in the old days, so China is a center for Chinese people,
Yes.
right? When they immigrant, they live there,
Yes.
and they make their living there, and they grow up the family, and all in these small places.
Yes.
But when the young generation grow up, you know, they graduated and then get married, and it looks like that many local Chinatown residents
Yes.
intend to move out.
Yes, and that's the case with Toronto. But a lot of the youth said to us that although they've moved out and there are still some Chinese people, let's say, that live in the downtown part of Toronto.
Grandparents.
Yes, and it's still emerging and it's still kind of changing. There's still a lot of cultures there if you go downtown Toronto or to the Scarborough side. But those youth that have, you know, married and have moved out still say that they will go back to Chinatown, Toronto to do shopping or to get that home comfort food that they can't get in the city. They also say that, you know, they'll attend festivities in the northern part of Toronto because there's a lot of cultural events that happen in the northern part of the Chinatowns in Toronto. So even though they've moved out, they still go back. It's sort of like a home comfort thing for them.
Yeah. So sometimes we see that town or center is just a name that people cluster together and form a place, right? So that's any symbolic for China, like for example, any symbolic for any Chinatown. They got the Chinese decorated gatehouse or something like that. But my question is that almost every Chinatown they have the Chinese gate.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So that is symbolic. This is Chinatown.
Yes.
But for modern Chinatown, like the one in Markham, they got the Pacific Mall.
Yes.
That's a modern. I can say it's modern Chinatown with the Chinese gateway.
Yes, but even though it's a mall, for those that go there, they say that it's a resemblance to what it's like in China. So they'll go to the Pacific Mall, for example, and the way the shops are set up and the goods that they sell is very similar to China. I've never been to China, but they say it's very similar to shopping in China. So in a sense, I mean, if you look at the northern part of Toronto where that Chinatown is, it's more industrial and it's more contemporary, but yet in a certain way, they have a lot of things that you don't visually see right away, excuse me, that are similar to their culture.
You say that you use a lot of youth for your series, and then they find that they try to explore, preserve the Chinese culture. So any particular one they want to preserve, or because culture could be a very abstract name.
Right. I think all of their cultures and traditions and what they have, like in Toronto, they speak a lot about preserving, you know, the food. That the food is the main sort of part of the Chinese culture, and that they want to preserve it. They also speak about in Montreal how they try to preserve the Lion Dance Club. You know, the youth are now involved in it and managing it. So there's, you know, I think it's really a lot of different aspects of their culture that, you know, their traditions that they want to preserve.
So each city maybe have different objectives or different preserving different things in terms of Chinese culture.
Sort of, but really not. I mean, if you go to Calgary and Edmonton, they're trying to restructure it and preserve the buildings that they have. They're going through a little bit of a change. But now they just had their centennial anniversary.
Did the series cover this part?
We didn't, because we already finished the series. But they did air the documentary there. They set up a theater, an Omni Theater, and they aired the documentary there with some other Chinese documentaries. So there, you know, they're actually trying to build up their Chinatown community a little bit more to preserve it. And that's just the whole community in general, buildings. I think the same if you go to Victoria and Vancouver. Victoria has, you know, the Chinese gardens and certain places that are actually Chinese, and that resemble certain parts in China. And for them, they are trying to maintain that. It's become a whole tourist area. And in Vancouver, you know, the same. It's a growing community. There have been, you know, some areas that have gone a little bit downhill, but they're trying to clean it up and trying to preserve it.
So Vancouver, Calgary, Victoria, Montreal, Toronto,
And Edmonton.
You didn't say anything about Edmonton.
Well, it's kind of the same as Calgary and Edmonton. Their Chinese communities are very small, and so they're trying to maintain them and bring them more forward.
Okay, through that 4 years process, I say it's a process from day one to now, finish the production. So yourself as a producer, what do you think you get from this process?
I learned a lot. I met so many different interesting people, as I said previously. It was wonderful to meet so many people from the Chinese community. So that was really nice. And I think ultimately to date, one of the best compliments we received was from the president of the Sinlock Society. And he told us that it was the documentary he feels would benefit their community in that they are growing. But ultimately, I think it was just a wonderful experience to have met everybody.
Are you planning for another series or any other story about Chinese culture community?
At the current time, no. But thinking about it.
So, okay, then backtrack about the Omni the fund. So is it the first time you apply the multicultural fund from the Omni?
Yes. Yes.
So you find any difficulties or kind of like things? Because we are almost in the same business. So I'm in TV and the film production. We know that it's a creative part is always lack of funding.
Yes.
So that's funding is a big important for productions.
Yes.
So and then tell us a bit about like how I know you got the idea, and then is that Omni is the only funder you go after for your project?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then you got okay from the very beginning, and then what kind of...
Yes. Pretty much, you know, Omni is a multicultural channel. So yes, you know, they were our backbone for that.
Then, are you working on any other project other than the Chinese content?
Am I working on any other projects? Not right now, no.
Okay, so after 4 years hard working to a break.
Well, no, there's still some end parts that we have to finish off for Chinatown. So there's still little things that we have to continue to do with it.
Okay. So the ending, just give you 30 seconds, tell how you feel about in conclusion. You want to say something about that?
Regarding
producing these pieces.
I'm really proud of it, and I hope that the Chinese community is very proud of it. We spent a lot of time writing it. We had a great writer. We spent a lot of time in production and the quality of the production. I don't know if you've seen it, but I'm very proud of the quality of the production. It was done very, very well, and I hope the Chinese community is very proud of our work.
So I think the whole part series was shown before, broadcast before, right? So it's done.
It's already been broadcast, yes.
So that will be scheduled sometime?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, it will. If you just check your local listings with Omni or send them an email.
Okay,
yes.
I think that's it. That's what I need.